Welcome back to RT Share Tea, where respiratory therapists live out loud. With me, your host, Linda Fry, the Asthma Lady. Yes, welcome everybody. Welcome to anybody new. And Happy New Year if I haven't said it to you before. I'm excited today because I have a new guest co-host and she is amazing. So we have Theresa. And before I let her introduce herself, well, actually, I have a story for you guys. We always watch each other on social media, and we finally got the chance to meet each other at this past AARC Congress, where we was like doing the electric slide together and the Cupid shuffle. So I said, you know what, you super cool. Come jump on RT Share Tea, and she totally agreed. So we're gonna have a great day today. But before I do that, we let her do her thing, let me get it together and get her bio and introduce her the right way. Okay. All right. So, Theresa, I'm gonna mess up your last name again.
No, you're gonna be fine.
Theresa
Griego.
Griego. Theresa Griego is a respiratory professor, keynote speaker, and advocate shaping the future of respiratory care through evidence-based practice and education. I love it. She's amazing, and we are grateful to have her here on RT Share Tea. Hi, Theresa.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am very honored to be asked to be on here and give some out loud opinions and talks.
Yes, Theresa. You know, I'm just grateful to have you here. I've been, like I said, I've been watching your stuff. And for anybody who's been watching me from like a year back, I had a guest co-host, JJ, and JJ, the respiratory therapist, told me I need to have Theresa. And so here I am a year later, I have Theresa. Thank you. So okay, let's jump in. In the respiratory care field, we all have that story of what got us into the profession. So why'd you pick respiratory?
Well, mine is not a great story other than I was 18 years old and all the basketball and volleyball and things I played in high school was over, and I decided, boy, I better figure out what I'm going to do in life. And I talk a lot. I get in trouble my entire life for talking. I'm ADHD. I talk about that a lot in my social media also. That wasn't a diagnosis in my time. So in 1991, a few seasons ago, I was graduating high school and I decided I better do healthcare because I could talk to people. My heart is very compassionate for healthcare. And so that's where I went. And so I went to the college and I said, somebody was actually in like a career fair or something like that. And they were in X-ray. And so I went to the college and said, okay, maybe I could go take pictures of people and whatever. And they said, well, I'm sorry, that program's full, but you can do nursing or you can do respiratory therapy. And I said, well, what's respiratory therapy? Never even heard of that. Right. I think most of us can, until the pandemic, that's kind of the whole world's opinion also.
Right.
And they kind of told me, they gave me this pamphlet, because remember, in 1991, there's no internet, everybody, like, right? They give me a pamphlet.
During my time, too, a little bit.
And so it was before your time. And it's like this little hand-drawn thing. It talks about helping people with therapies and things like that. And I was like, gosh, okay, let me go to my local hospital. And I said, can I see somebody? They said, no, but here's this pamphlet. I said, okay. So regularly through my career, you'll hear me sometimes say, this was not in the pamphlet. But that's how I ended up in respiratory. I was very young, thankful. And so that's how I got into it.
Okay.
I think like most respiratory therapists, though, the common denominator there is most of us got into it by accident, not on purpose.
All right. I definitely stumbled upon the poster on the respiratory care door as a failing pharmacy student. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. The math grades were not too great, so I had to pivot. And Yeah,
And
so
when you poll the students in my class, most of them applied to something else, and that wasn't their first choice. So
I,
that's just the way
okay,
it's been.
but respiratory has been so good to me. So I
Absolutely.
love it. I love
I
it.
often say we have the most quality time with patients out of every specialty, and especially in advanced practice of care, than any other specialty at the bedside with the patient.
You
And
understand? I mean,
that's
yeah, we really get to be with our patients and really
mhm,
get to know, and sometimes that's why when they go, if they go, meaning like they passed away, it does, we feel that like
and so many
they
times I'm able to fill in the whole story for the practitioners, the team that I'm working with, because they didn't get the full story, right? They went in, they said, "Are you taking your medications?" And they say yes, and then they leave the room and they say, "Well, except for the ones I can't afford," right? And so I think respiratory therapists have, if you can really encompass that role of understanding that you probably get more of the story of your patient's healthcare than most people at the bedside. So I take that
oh
very
yeah,
seriously.
I have stories for days of what
I
I
know,
do.
right?
Where I am, trust me. But yes, thank you so much for sharing that, your journey and everything. So now, okay, so you fell upon respiratory just like a lot of us. And
Mhm.
so what shifted you into where you are today with teaching, being a professor, a speaker, and you're just being all over the social media platform?
Right. Well, I left the field for a while. I went and did marketing at American Airlines,
Okay. That's
um,
interesting.
and really felt like I was in a cube. I mean, while my title might have been kind of fancy or something like that, really, I just wasn't getting to be with people. And
Hmm.
so I promised myself if I came back, because I left because people were not interested, people around me were very unhappy. They were not happy respiratory therapists. They were grumpy. I call them grumpy bugs. I advise people that when
Hmm.
you start your career, don't hang out with the grumpy bugs. You'll become grumpy.
Right.
And they didn't really understand the science behind the respiratory care. They didn't want to hear about it. And I didn't really get into it to be a neb jockey or a vent checker. That's not what
Right.
I don't do those things. I wanted to do healthcare and use my
Critical.
brain and my
Mhm.
science and things like that to provide better healthcare. And that just wasn't available to me at that time. So I promised when I came back that I would, with a passion, use science. I remember there was no evidence-based medicine when I started. We used science that we knew, but the reason I say there was no evidence-based medicine, there was, but for me to know the latest evidence, think about it. I had to go to the library to read anything where
Right.
when I found it, it was already outdated the moment it was published. I didn't know about the National Institute of Health. There
Right.
was no PubMed. And so when I came back, I'm just like constantly like a kid in the candy store, like, oh my God, did you see this last evidence or did this, that, and the other? Why are we still doing these therapies that have no evidence for them? And people
Hmm.
still to this
Because that's
day,
what we knew.
they say, well, it's what we've always done, which,
Right.
whoo, the reason all of us are on these platforms is that has got to come to an end. You
Right.
wouldn't be on here if people would finally stop doing what they've always been doing.
Right.
You mentioned in your last podcast about you started it because you weren't being invited to the table to
Yeah.
speak on your expertise,
Yep.
your field of expertise. And I say many times I was at the table and I was just being ignored or worse, made fun of. The lung nerd, there she goes again. She's so extra. What's wrong with being extra?
No, they didn't. They called you extra.
Oh, yeah, that happens quite often. But anyway, why not be extra for our patients? Extra passionate about our care.
Right.
Why?
Some
I
people
was
don't
so
like that.
tired of people being extra concerned about how they're going to get to breakfast. That was what I
Right.
was so frustrating to me.
Right. Oh,
And
we're the same person. I was that therapist that went to every rapid response, every trauma call. I worked at a level 1 trauma center as my first job, and they were just like, and they didn't even need me. I was kind of like the fifth wheel on the team, and I still, I still wanted to show my value. I was that person. Like I
Oh,
I am value. I knew I'm here to serve. So
well, you just hit on
and
a big
sometimes
hot.
you're seen as extra.
You just hit on a hot button of mine because I'm speaking this whole year on to be valued, you must first bring value.
I saw your post actually on the gram.
And so when you say the words, I want to be of value, because we have seen, not just in respiratory, across the board, people saying, value me, you don't value me, you don't value me. But truth be known, are you just saying the words, or are you participating in the team as a valuable member, right?
Right.
No matter what relationship or thing that
Oh,
you're involved in your life, whether it's personal, professional, no one values something unless there's something to be valued, unless
right.
you're bringing something to that
Right.
table that makes the team better.
Yeah. We don't carry dead weight.
Yes.
No dead weight. So, Teresa, trust me, we gonna talk after.
I know.
We're gonna talk after this because we are speaking the same language, and I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, what were your barriers? And I you started to talk about that already, but when it came to, like, say, your public speaking now, so
Mm-hmm.
what were your barriers to anything in relations to your public speaking, to your social media platforms, and being a professor, if there are any barriers at all?
Okay. It's taken a minute for the barriers to start showing their heads and rearing their heads out of situations, I guess, from being in public. You hear this all the time from the real, famous people and stuff like that. But when you decide to put yourself out there, when I decide to be out loud about things that I'm so passionate for,
Yeah.
um, I want to say that the only reason I would do this is, while I may be TikTok famous one day, it's unlikely. Okay. I'm doing it because I want to connect with a population that is clearly
Yeah.
born way after me. They didn't have to go to the library. They
Right.
connect everything through the here and the now and the fast.
Right.
So I put myself out there that way on TikTok, but even in Instagram and LinkedIn, because I'm so passionate about it. And
Right.
and so while most people would realize, gosh, someone's not going to put that kind of effort into something unless they're very passionate about it.
Right.
But
Right.
I've
I can tell. Yeah, you put your time into that stuff. I mean, I look at your stuff all the time. I'm like, wow, like she's good.
well,
Like,
it's a learning curve, all of this, I'll tell you that.
but it's like I'm learning. We're talking about RT out loud. How about I'm learning out loud? Like I literally, when I
Hmm.
learn, I'm like I post and I'm like maybe it's a hit, maybe it's not, whatever, and I keep
Right, absolutely.
posting.
But then if you're going to do that, I think, there's going to be people that can easily criticize.
Oh,
The first barriers I came from were just people that we've all been told, just don't do social media. In your workplace, don't do social media, don't do it, don't do it.
uh,
Uh, you go to HR when you first hire on someone, they say, we just advise you don't even have one, right? But the reality of that is fear-based education
yeah, yeah,
over and over. And fear-based education doesn't work, and it doesn't empower people to do things the right way.
right.
And so many people were just like, oh, I don't think we should do this, whatever, different things like that. But
Hmm.
that's how I speak now on, I believe everybody should have a professional social media.
Right.
For,
It is
for
the way of today. It
yeah,
is. And
and it's for two reasons. Number one, you never get it confused as about what you're posting on while you're on your professional social media. It doesn't even have to be in respiratory. I'm saying in any of your professional life, you're on professional behavior and things.
right,
I equate it to when I go into a meeting and I say, hey, Linda, nice to meet you. Here's my business card, right? I don't hand you a picture of my family,
right, right,
right? I hand you a picture of my profession. And that's what social media with your professional site does. It says, here is Theresa as a professional, maybe sometimes silly, maybe sometimes different things.
Right.
But there's no
Sprinkle that stuff
pictures
in.
of me, doing things on the boat with my family. While that's great, it doesn't speak to my professional goals.
Right.
And also, when I'm scrolling through my professional social medias, right, and I'm seeing the Asthma Lady, and I'm seeing different things from Brady Scott, or it's just different people that are publishing things and going through, I know that I am in my work mode, right? If it was coming through my social media on my professional side, when I'm not in work mode, I may just skip through that. I would have missed all these great things because I'm not in a mindset of business.
Right.
So that's the other side people don't think about, is that when you're working or going through social media to find things, LinkedIn, my goodness, aren't you impressed with what's happened with LinkedIn?
I know.
I mean, that was a platform for boomers and older that were just, it was an awful platform for years.
It has done a lot for me. And I, to be honest with you, I haven't really taken it serious until like a year ago. That was when I really started.
Only after Microsoft bought it, though, has it become something that's actually working. The other one was so stagnant and was, so I've really enjoyed those connections on LinkedIn.
Yes, I have too. I've met a lot of people, and and like I said, going to the AARC, seeing people in real space.
I think I posted on my social media. On my social media and on my LinkedIn when I got to the convention, right? The national convention said, if you see me before I see you.
I know. I remember when we said that. And I was like, well, girl, if I'm not wearing the glasses, you will see me before I know. If I'm not wearing them, I'm blind.
That's the truth.
But no. This is great. And I welcome that from you, because like I said, when I first started, first of all, I did not have a good relationship with social media, because I just felt like I didn't have the time for it. I felt like it was a rabbit hole, and I'm one of those people that has a lot going on. So sorry, let me get that off. But yeah, I had a lot going on. So when I started to say, like, okay, when I started to do my other stuff in business and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I have to get my relationship better with social media, because it is definitely a tool, and everybody and their mama's using it, and everybody is there. So I have to get it together, and it's been working out pretty well. So I admire you and what you do, and the positive energy you've been pumping out to the respiratory care field, because it's much needed.
Thank you for that. Because the last barrier that recently has happened is just not people that want to hear the message or want to get on social media and things. They're like you and myself, trying to figure out the puzzle and how we can do it professionally and things like that.
Yeah.
But now there's an older population that's been in the field a long time that are worried that we may say something that they don't like, or just a little bit of just trying to make sure that we should all be allowed to say what we want to say, right? Or people will say, hey, I didn't really like that message, and I say to you, you are very, very well. I'm sorry that you don't like that content, but please feel free to unfollow it. You don't have to agree with me. Exactly. I'm not here to I'm trying to promote respiratory and not make you believe. It doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what the evidence suggests or improves. And if you don't like the way I give that, then that's okay too. Like, that's the beauty of life. We're not all going to be understanding.
Let me tell you what I say. When someone, says something, like they're like, oh, they don't like it or something like that, I tell them, thank you for contributing to the conversation. Because at the end of the day, that's what social media is. You want, you put content out there, and if people are looking and they're contributing, Thank you. Whether
And I welcome, I love when we can just even debate things intellectually about things. I've learned so much saying, I never thought about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Opening
Yeah, me too.
yourself and being vulnerable and saying, gosh, that never occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
But if it comes down to someone being hateful, block.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, I've seen a few back and forth between people, and
I've never had really much on mine, thank you. But my advice to people is block. You do not have
I don't
time
have
for
time for it. I don't. Yeah, I don't have the time nor the energy.
Sure.
So yes, okay, Theresa. Thank you for sharing the barriers. So what advice would you give to anybody that wants to start out doing something new in the respiratory care field, and they want to be out loud on social media? Like what tips or what important tips that you can give? Let me see in how many minutes I got. In like 5 minutes.
Okay, I would say create in every media that there is, create yourself a professional site. I believe if you remember back in the day, people would say your smile is your calling card or your brand.
Right.
Be consistent with your branding so that people know that's you. So when they see you on LinkedIn and then they're scrolling and they get a suggestion that maybe they should like, when they're scrolling through yours and they see RT Out Loud, oh, that was the person that was on her media in that way. So they'll see you consistently, and it doesn't always have to be a big brand. It could just be your name. Always have a profile picture. People do not like doing business with people they can't see.
Right. Like who's behind the right. That's
and
true.
I believe that most people are very just shy and they probably they're not sure about that. It brings a message of not trusting. I don't accept a friend request or any of those kinds of things from people that don't have a profile picture.
Right. They need to see the face. This is true.
And don't engage in things that are just negative. Be on there to be positive. Share other people's great stuff. Do not think it's not a competition.
Yes.
It is all about sharing everybody's things.
You hit it. Sharing is caring. That's why I always say that when I see something I like or I see somebody that puts something out there and it makes sense, I share it. I'm like, yes, this is good, and it's not a competition. I tell everybody, it's nobody's competing. It's like we're all in it together. Absolutely. We all out here, and there's enough piece of the pie or whatever pie we all chasing. There's enough pieces for everybody to eat.
There's so many,
I don't get
why anybody would think that, and I'm also not of an age group now that I have to deal with a lot of female competition or things that I did when I was younger in my career. And so for people that are in that right now, that's why social media on your professional platform is so important, because I promise you, I never do social media with my colleagues. People are not always following you because they're your fan. Keep it professional.
Theresa, I have a podcast of this. It was an old one of my first, that was talking about how to deal with haters, and it was literally stuff like that, where people who are watching for a reason, but there's a way to deal with that and still continue to shine without a problem.
All I care about is evidence-based medicine shining, seeing people coming into the field and not being surrounded by people that tell you, why'd you choose respiratory? Oh, that kills me. I've heard it so many times in my career.
My gosh.
And I tell them, you go lead this industry better than I've ever seen it led. And I believe in those new RTs doing that. They're going to lead this field because they've been empowered to.
It's crazy. It's crazy. People don't understand when you put that negative I'm like, I understand the burnout and all, but you can't pump out negative energy and expect
positive results
to recruit new. Like we're not making sense. But Theresa, I appreciate you. This is an amazing conversation, and I will definitely be talking to you and other times so we can continue the convo. And I would love to have you again in the future and whatnot, so we can keep these conversations going. So this is your chance. You can plug whatever you want, whatever you're doing. Where can we find you? And all that good stuff.
I would say please follow me on RT Out Loud, and converse with me and share ideas with me, and let's just progress this field to the top of the licensure that we and the scope of practice that we've all been to school for and that we are passionate about. And if you're in Texas, I am on the board of directors for an amazing charity that helps out students, Respiratory Care Foundation of Texas. We provide scholarships to those students, and that's really, really, really a passion of mine. And just start connecting. For years and years, respiratory therapists, I would be around them. They didn't even check their emails. And so this time now is to be the profession that you went to school for, the one that you desired to brag about when you were in school. Get the T-shirt that says "Proud Respiratory Therapist."
Right. I totally agree. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Theresa. We appreciate you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your perspectives on Rts Share Tea. Well, everyone, that's all we have for today. But please remember, we are here every Wednesday on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you